Well, it's that time of year again. You guessed it, the holidays coming up right around the corner. Your question is probably, what can you do with your money to make them more enjoyable? Well, stay tuned this week's episode of the Retirement Income Source, where it's all about your income.
Welcome to the Retirement Income Source, where it's all about your income. We hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I'm Sarah Samuels. I'm here with David Scranton, the host. And today we're talking about some different ways that you could be smart during this holiday season. And David, it's great to see you again. I know I missed you last week. I know that you and Teresa were up in Connecticut, right? Mm-hmm. Did you see family for Thanksgiving?
Oh, we did. We had about 20 people over, so it's pretty good. And, I don't do much. She does most of it. But I did have one job, and I'm kind of disappointed because I didn't do my job that well.
All right, Dave, tell us, what was your one job?
Well, my one job was to cook the filet roast.
Okay.
One job. And those thermometers? I'm going to throw them all out. I had two
Those
thermometers
so
checking
inaccurate.
the temperature of the meat. I'm glad to hear you say that. You can take some pressure off me, but I feel bad. I had one job, Sarah. One job, and what was supposed to be medium rare was almost well done.
Oh, no.
Because the thermometers couldn't get up to temperature. And I tried two, and they both were wrong. Yep. So, yeah.
Well, Dave, you're not the only person out there. I'm sure that's happened to you. I've also had a bad experience. And I've tried different brands, too. I'm not going to name them, of course. But I tried all of the different thermometers out there. I just don't think that they're very accurate at taking the temperature. So maybe if someone out there knows a thermometer that actually works, that would be really helpful. That would save us from some burnt filet.
Well, that's a great idea, but guess what? Christmas time, I'm not doing it.
Maybe Santa will bring you that for Christmas. But Dave, it sounds like that was a little stressful, even though you just had one job to take care of. And that's why today's show is all about ways that we can make the holidays less stressful, especially if you are heading towards retirement or already retired.
Yeah, it's interesting because we hear a lot about how the consumer is getting stressed and getting pressure because of all the inflation we had seen in recent years. Inflation's back down 3% or less, but you're still feeling the effects of all the previous price increases. And if your income didn't keep up with the rate of inflation, well, that's painful. But yet, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, year over year, spending, preliminary studies show that spending went up 9% and 4% from the same time last year, respectively. And if that's the case, that's pretty good that people are spending more money, feeling comfortable doing it in spite of the pressures they feel with the past inflation.
And that data we saw was good, right? People are feeling more confident to spend money, but there was also some data about credit card debt and showing that was also going up. So it seems that there's some people out there that are spending right now, really not thinking about their future or just, living in the moment.
And I think debts in general, too. There were more new loans initiated from what one study had shown that since any time in the last 3 years, we see credit card debts coming up again. Yep. And I think that's that's not good if they're going up excessively. And the problem is you never know when there's going to be a recession, when people are going to become unemployed unexpectedly. It's kind of like musical chairs when you're a kid, right? You walk around, they take one chair out, and then the music stops, and one poor kid is stuck without a chair.
Yeah, one poor kid falls usually on their tailbone, right? And they're out without a chair, but nobody thinks it'll ever be them.
And that's also what happens in bad times, in times of recession, which inevitably will come again. It's been a long time since we've had one, but you have a recession, and then cutbacks are going to occur. You don't think it's going to be you, but it might be, and that's why it's important to keep those credit card debt limits under control.
Yep, keeping those personal finance in order at all times. Yeah. And that's actually one of the huge risks to retirement. And we put together a guide at the 7 major retirement risks so you can make sure that you're prepared. You can check out those other risks and see if there's other ways that you're maybe sacrificing your retirement for today. So if you want to download that white paper, you can, absolutely free. It's available on our radio website, incomeradio.com. You're listening to the Retirement Income Source radio show, where it's all about your income. I'm Sarah Samuels here with David Scranton. If you feel like maybe you ate too much over the holiday weekend, hopefully not a well-done filet, but if you maybe ate too much overcooked, right? And maybe you're having a little regret, today's show is meant to help put your mind at ease and help you live a little bit more stress-free as we approach these holidays. Because Dave, I always feel like Thanksgiving kicks off the the holiday season, right? We have Thanksgiving,
Right.
a day of giving thanks, and then immediately after, we all fight each other for the latest toy and the latest television, right? To show how grateful we are on Black Friday. And then it's almost pretty much a few weeks, and then Christmas and Hanukkah, the rest of the holidays at the end of the year.
Yeah, they all fall right into place.
Yeah.
And you know, it's interesting. I think part of the reason, too, people feel good, in spite of feeling tighter from a cash flow standpoint, they feel good because their 401ks are worth more. Their investments are worth more. You know, the stock market's been a nice run over the last nearly 3 years now. Yeah. And, you know, if you own stock mutual funds, let's say that kind of resemble the S&P 500, the overall market, well, that's heavily technology laden. So all those Magnificent Seven stocks, not just NVIDIA, but all the others have done well. Yeah. So people feel good from a net worth standpoint. But what's important to realize is that's not realized. That's not a real return. What goes up can come down. And like we said recently, I don't think we're in a tech bubble like we were back in 1999, because these tech companies right now are actually making money, whereas in 1999 they weren't. But still, we're overdue for a market pullback. We're overdue for a bear market. And we've seen some softening in the market recently. Yeah. And when that happens, all of a sudden the 401ks become worth a little bit less because you give back those gains. It's not realized.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's what we always talk about, investing for income on the show, because if you invest for income, at least that's a realized gain. That's money that comes out to you. And actually, you can take it or either be used to buy more shares. So if you're not retired yet, it's in your IRA or 401k, you buy more of the investment. So you're building your money the old-fashioned way by buying more shares versus just having the shares go up in value, feeling good, and then you get a bear market or a market correction and they come back down again.
And we talk about, Dave, that all of these investments are similar. There's just different ways to utilize them, right? Versus being invested in a growth way versus being invested for an income way. And I think a lot of folks out there, they see that the capital gains, they think, oh, okay, it's really an illusion versus income is just like that paycheck. Right. You can take that money, you can reinvest it, or if you're retired, you use that to pay for everything in retirement, right? Just like a paycheck. You can't really pay anything with growth. Even talking about paying for stuff with growth sounds funny.
That's right. That's right. You can't pay with growth. Your house is worth more now than it was a few years ago. But you know, what do? You cut off a chunk of your roof or take a door off and bring it in the store and say, "Hey, what can I get for this? I want to buy
try to
something."
Sell it back.
It doesn't work. And in fact, it happened. You know, at Thanksgiving, we had some immediate family, some extended family there, and there were some extended family members where we manage part of their money for income, and they do some of the money themselves because they want to. And I overheard a conversation with another family member about, well, this is how much we've allotted for gifts for you this year. And of course, mom knows with the kids, there were 2 kids and mom knows what the kids want, and everything's over that price. So mom said, well, if I just forego my gift, I don't want a gift, can you just spend a little bit more on the kids? And, of course, they were willing to do that. They didn't want to do that because they want to get everybody a gift. It's the holidays, right?
Right.
It's
you want
family.
to help for everyone, yeah.
But I couldn't help but think, gosh, if our firm were investing more than half of their money, 3/4 of it, maybe all of it, with that extra income, would that conversation have even happened? And I guarantee it wouldn't have.
Yep. That's because income really gives you a permission to spend, because a lot of folks feel that. It's not just your family. I think a lot of people out there feel like, oh, okay, we're used to living on a budget, right? We're used to living on diets for most of our lives. People try to stay healthy. They're used to self-sacrifice. And I think they don't realize that with income, you don't have to do that self-sacrificing part. You can actually have more than you need. You don't have to have this specific little budget for gifts and have to avoid giving mom a gift because to get gifts for the kids,
As long as it's within your income that you're receiving or can receive. But the reality is that for most people, they're not getting as much income as they could from their investments. So they're sitting there with their investments, hoping that they grow. They're worth more in the future for future holidays. But meanwhile, they're holding back on what they could do this year, and that's a problem. So coming up, we'll talk more about, again, how you could make your holidays better, but also some tough conversations that are important, but you might have a great opportunity to have during the holiday season. I'm David Scranton here at Sarah Samuels, and you're listening to the Retirement Income Source, where it's all about your income.
Welcome back to the Retirement Income Source Radio Show, where it's all about your income. I'm Sarah Samuels here with David Scranton, and we are talking about ways that you can have a more stress-free and enjoyable holiday season, especially for those that are retired or nearing retirement. And Dave, we've looked at some of the data. We talked about it, that there's still some feeling of inflation, even though we did see that Black Friday and Cyber Monday, the sales were up. Mm-hmm. Seems like more people than ever are putting some of that spending on credit cards. So there's a little bit of an increase in credit card debt. And that's why income generation, especially for the retirees and pre-retirees, is so important as you enter retirement.
So you're saying debt is a problem? Like our government adding $1 trillion of national debt every 5 months should be something we're more concerned about than we really are? That's what it sounds like.
Oh, it definitely is a problem, Davis. We have the trickle-down effect, but with debt, where even the average consumer has a lot more credit card debt.
Very true. No, it's true. And see, the thing is, with the extra income, especially for people who are retired, with the extra income that they have, they can pay cash for more and not have to accumulate the debt, not have to put things on credit cards. And that makes all the difference, because it's interesting. People think, and people who are retired think, okay, well, I either can give them more stuff now or they can get more stuff after I'm gone through my will. And to me, that's a scarcity mindset. It doesn't have to be A or B. It can be A plus B, right? Because it's like even in the Bible, right? The parable of the 3 talents. Remember the one son that just took it and squirreled it away and saved it and didn't do anything. He thought he was doing a good thing, but he wasn't, because he didn't do anything to make it better for the world. He let that talent lie fallow, essentially. So, but the son who actually put it to work was the favorite son, and the reason is because it's you can do one thing with your money. You can let it sit there in the future just for all the what ifs, and then if no what ifs happen, my kids get it when I'm gone. Yeah. Or you can spend it now and then you don't have it for the what ifs or for the legacy. Or you can do both. And people don't think they can have both, but they can. When they invest with an income first, growth second strategy, not no growth, income first, growth second, they can literally keep their principal intact and have more income. They and their kids can enjoy it more today without going to credit card debt for the holidays. And yet also, if you need it later on in years, you have it. And if you don't need it and you pass peacefully in your sleep one night, then your kids get to enjoy it and your grandchildren get to enjoy it then. Or charities or whatever bequeaths you might want to make living or dead.
Yep. Well, when you invest for income, there's a way really to have your cake and eat it too. And that's a big fallacy. A lot of people think, hey, I either have to gift it now or later. I wait, I give it to my kids in their will. But really, that brings me to the next point, Dave, which you mentioned yourself. It's having those tough conversations as a family. And this part can get a little uncomfortable. Maybe you want to make sure your timing is right. You don't want to do it right in the middle of the holiday dinner. But it's a great time, I think, as a family to sit down and talk about estate planning, talk about legacy planning, talk about longevity in your family, because that is something that can be very genetic. It can run on different sides of your family. It's good to think about these things and to make sure that your children, grandchildren, that everyone understands what the estate plan could look like. Yeah,
and there's things that if you spend one day together and it's literally the holiday itself, well, then you probably don't want to bring this conversation up. But for
you got to get the timing right.
Most people visit, so there's a couple days on the front end, couple days on the back end of their holiday, and then you have some time to talk about some of these things. But for example, for a lot of our people listening right now, Sarah, your major holding might be a 401k or an IRA, which the taxes on which have to be paid within 10 years after your death. But do you realize that how much money each child inherits depends upon their respective tax bracket? So in other words, those that are more financially successful, that are in a higher tax bracket, are going to inherit less than those that are maybe less financially successful in a lower tax bracket, because they're going to get to keep more. So is that what you want? If that's what you want, great. But some people say, no, I want the net number to be split evenly between the two. Or some people even say, I want to reward the person who's more successful with more because they earned it. Almost like a 401k matching program, right? The more you put in, the more matching you get, that kind of deal. But the problem is you don't have a choice when they're inheriting an IRA or 401k. And that's why on the show, Sarah, we always talk about Roth IRA conversions, right? Because now you pay taxes in your tax bracket, which is often lower, and you convert it over time, once it's in the Roth IRA, you know exactly how much everybody's going to get.
Right. And that's a lot easier to plan when you actually know what you're going to receive as opposed to trying to guess, right? And that's kind of the same thing with the income strategy versus a growth strategy.
But that's one example of, that conversation that needs to happen so people understand the ramifications.
Yep. And that's why we put together some of these other retirement risks, just so you can understand more clearly what are the different perils and what you could be facing. And if you're interested in downloading that report, the 7 retirement risks, all you have to do is go to our website. It's incomeradio.com, and you can download that report absolutely free. Thank you for listening to the Retirement Income Source, where it's all about your income. I'm Sarah Samuels here with David Scranton. And this show is supposed to be how to make your holidays more stress-free. And I think we've been talking so far about something that's extremely stressful, right? Having these uncomfortable conversations with your family, with your kids. A lot of times, I think sometimes parents, they don't want to maybe even share with their adult children their full amount of money they have or the way things that are allocated. Maybe they have a child that they're worried about, perhaps a kid that they're worried is a little bit of a spendthrift, maybe someone that struggled with addiction issues, those kinds of things. There's times that I think that adult children have no idea really of what's going on with their parents' estates because it's that awkward conversation.
A lot of what creates stress, though, Sarah, is the unknown. So a little bit of stress short term to save a lot of stress long term is often a good trade-off. And just being honest and transparent. Like, for example, if you're going to be retiring in a few years, okay, just so you know, a few years, mom and dad, they're going to pull back. They're not going to spend quite as much on gifts because we can't, okay? That's an important conversation to have, okay? Or, mom and dad are going to try to help out a little bit with college where we can for grandchildren, but we're not sure. Or in lieu of gifts, maybe we can put money in a 529 plan every year to help with college. Have those conversations. And those are some just the positive ones that are just managing everyone's expectations as to what's going to happen, the change that's going to occur. Also, you do get into some things that are a little more negative. The things like, okay, what if mom or dad takes sick? What's the backup plan? And one offspring may say, hey, what if I just build a garage? Well, we build it, not a garage.
Garage. You've been hanging out in Connecticut.
In in-law home. I'm thinking garage like your in-laws are going to live in a garage, right? No,
yeah, you put them in the shed out back, right? Dave's in-laws.
Maybe that was Freudian. I'm not sure.
That's where they go.
No, but I mean, second floor above a garage or
like
something
a
like that.
Suite.
That's
yes,
right. Thank you. Thanks for attempting to rescue me. Yes. Unfortunately, I didn't have anybody to rescue me after the burnt roast. But anyway, it's a good. It's something like that conversation. Like, is that real or not? Sometimes mom and dad will actually pay for that. And it comes out of the ultimate inheritance of the others, but that's okay because one of the children said, hey, I'm going to put you closer here so we can keep an eye on you. Other times it has to be about buying into an assisted care facility down the road, or maybe buying long-term care insurance so you can stay in the comfort of your home. Maybe you don't have any children that are near you. Maybe they all moved away and scattered. And if that's the case, then your only option is to have enough money or insurance to pay for long-term care. So these are some of the issues, not to mention the fact that if you're redoing your estate plan, right, or even if you're not, should you, right? Do you have
you signed all your papers, your medical directors, all of that paperwork that maybe you were putting it off because it feels too real to sign it?
Well, and did you designate the right child as your durable power of attorney for financial decisions, durable power of attorney for healthcare decisions, or as the executor of the will or trust of the trustee? Are these the right people? Is this done right? So let everybody know what's going on, what's happening as a family, because that's part of the reason that a lot of times people as they get older don't want to spend a lot of money on gifts and things over the holidays because they want to be able to leave a bigger legacy for the family, but it's a big question mark.
Yep.
They don't, the family doesn't know what the plan is, and I think it's helpful to communicate.
Yep. It's better to answer that question than leave it as a big question mark. And if you have questions, we are taking your questions next. It's part of our Ask Dave segment, so you can call in, let us know your questions about retirement. The phone number is 833-RIS-RADIO. That's 833-747-7234. I'm Sarah Samuels here with David Scranton, and you're listening to the Retirement Income Source, where it's all about your income. Thank you for spending some time here with us on the Retirement Income Source, where it's all about your income. I'm Sarah Samuels here with David Scranton. Today we're figuring out ways to make your holiday a little bit more fun and a little bit more stress-free. And really it begins and ends with having an income-first approach to your investment strategy, because then you get to live in that abundance mindset instead of having to live in this budgeting and constant dieting mindset, right? You get to actually enjoy your holidays and enjoy spending money and spending time with your family and friends.
Like our good friend Greg, financial advisor from Tulsa, always says, financially speaking, the ideal retirement is having more income than you need every single day for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. And we have a lot of questions that came in, so we appreciate everyone that reached out. And if you have a question, you can always send it to us either using our website, incomeradio.com, fill out the form, send us your question, or you can give us a call at 833-RIS-RADIO. That's 833-747-7234. Okay, our first question here comes from James in Avondale. He says, my wife and I plan to downsize our house as we get closer to retirement, and our goal is to use the proceeds to pay down some of our debts, but I'm worried, what if we can't sell it for enough? What should we do?
Hey, James. Well, great question. And, you know, I like your thinking, because if you're going to downsize anyway, it's a great chance to take some of that equity. But you're right. You want to get a good price, and that's a seasonal issue and also a regional issue. So what can you do? Well, the first thing, depending upon how much debt you have, is you can always say, okay, I'm still working. I can contribute a little less to my IRA or 401k. You probably still want to, especially if getting matching, especially 50 cents on a dollar, and especially if it's dollar for dollar, still do that amount. But anything over that, you might want to discontinue, so you could take the money and use it to pay off debt, right? That may be better than just continuing to stuff money in these plans. What you can also do is you can also just, if you have positive cash flow now, work to pay off the debts a little bit at a time. And there's a couple different strategies you can use there. One is to pay off the highest interest rate strategies first, which seem to make sense. But what if the higher interest rate strategy has much longer to go before it's paid off? So a lot of people will pay off the smaller balance quicker, because then the sooner you pay that off, the more cash flow it frees up. And that extra cash flow, by not having to make that loan payment, can go to one of the bigger loans. So it's not always just paying off the one with a higher interest rate. Sometimes it's paying off the one that could be paid off faster to free up that cash flow to apply it somewhere else. And that also helps you too, because if we go into a recession and, God forbid, James, you lose your job, well, then your monthly payments have come down because you've paid off the ones that are, you know, only have a few monthly payments left. So the payment itself is bigger as a percentage of the debt. So that's another thing. The third thing you can always do if you don't sell is say, well, can I get a line of credit? Can I get a home equity line of credit? Can I take some of the money out? You know, for most, the first $100,000 can be taken out tax deductibly for just about any reason, where you can deduct the interest. And then if you can do that and deduct the interest, then you can use that to pay off maybe higher interest rate credit cards or car loans or things like that. And depending upon your tax situation, replace an interest payment right now that's not tax deductible with one that is tax deductible. But if you're going to do that, here's the key. You know, don't rack the credit cards back up again. Be disciplined. If you're close to retirement, you need to be disciplined to make sure that you go into retirement as close to debt-free as you humanly can. Same with the car loans, right? If you're going to pay off that car loan, now try to keep that car in good condition so that you can drive it maybe even up to retirement, if not maybe even a few years into retirement first. So, James, I hope that helps.
And James, thank you so much for sending in your question on our website. Again, if you have a question, we would love to hear from you. You can send it to us online at incomeradio.com, or you can call us at 833-RIS-RADIO. That's 833-747-7234. Our next question comes from Amy in Cheshire. She says, my husband really doesn't want to talk about our estate or any of our assets with our adult kids. What should we do now to try to get us all on the same page?
Amy, it's the holidays. I don't know if your husband drinks or not, but perhaps you can ply him with alcohol and get him to change his mind.
Make a nice eggnog, right?
That's right, nice eggnog. That might work, exactly. That is difficult, and I talk about it where you're actually sitting with people. You know, if they're coming in a couple days early for the holidays, just having a conversation over an eggnog, so to speak, about, hey, you know, this is what mom and dad are thinking, this is what we're doing, we're retiring soon, or we're retired now, and this is what's changing, and, it's great. But it's if you have the family dynamic where you can do that. If you don't have the family dynamic, then, you might have to schedule time to do it. It might be like, hey, can I get you guys to come in a day early or stay a day late? I want to have a family meeting to talk about money, It's got to be more structured than that. But the first thing you have to do is convince your husband. And I don't know whether you work with a financial advisor or not. If you do, well, then I would lean on that advisor, because that advisor probably has real world stories that he or she can use to say, hey, these are stories of what happened with families that haven't communicated, and these are stories with families that have communicated. Because things are going to happen, like, your children might get in trouble financially and need help. Your grandchildren might. And if you tell them up front, no, mom and dad can't do this for these reasons, then they know not to come to you. But if you don't do that and they get in trouble, they're going to come to you. And if they come to you, now you've got to make that tough decision. Do you give them the money when it's going to hurt your retirement, you can't afford it? Or do you just say no, and now they're mad at you because they think you don't care about them? When the reality is, if you told them up front that you're going this new phase of life and this is an issue, you could have bypassed that whole thing. So my hope is that you work with a financial advisor who has a lot of these real-world stories that he or she can share, so that your husband sees the wisdom of communicating early. It's like running a business, Amy. Communicate early and often. That's what you have to do with your team members, and that's what you probably want to do with your family. So if you don't have an advisor, well, then let us know. We can always help you here at the Retirement Income Source with whatever you need financially, but also just with that soft side of it, because retirement isn't just about money. It's about the emotions that surround it. And part of those emotions, Amy, are what you're dealing with right now between both you and your husband. So I hope in some small way that helps.
Yep. And Amy, thank you so much for sending in your question. And part of the submission form, what Amy filled out, does include our phone number. So our team is going to reach out and make sure, talk to her about working with an advisor, see if she is already working with somebody, because we have so many income specialists really all over the Northeast that are available to help Amy, and help anyone out there that maybe is working with someone that's more growth minded as opposed to income minded, or someone that's more of a generalist as opposed to somebody that's prepared to help you generate as much income as you can as you head into those retirement years, and even reinvest it so you can live more abundantly in retirement. And that's going to lead to having more fun and being more stress-free in retirement.
Yeah. It's interesting. We were talking to James a minute ago, and talking about how to get the debts paid off, but then you have to stay debt-free. And it reminds me of a story that we've talked about before. I had a Middle Eastern client who's Muslim. And as a result, this is 35, 40 years ago, and as a result, he didn't want to take loans or make loans because it was against his religion. It's considered slothful or lazy money, either way. So what he would do is he would save in advance for his next car. And we did the math. He figured out that, gosh, instead of paying 8% interest on a car loan, or back then I think it was probably even higher, if he put money away early and was able to make 6 or 7% on it, the difference is, if you're going to have a car loan the rest of your life, instead of paying in arrears and paying $400 a month, he could save in advance and invest it and put in $250 a month. And then every few years pay cash for that next car, versus always paying off the car that you're currently driving, buying it in advance. And that's a great habit to get into. And I hope that all of our listeners who are retired get into that particular spending pattern, because it's a lot smarter. Yep.
Income really gives you that permission slip too, to be able to spend, but not overspend, to really live within your means. So thank you so much for listening to the episode of Retirement Income Source, where it is all about your income. We appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, and most important, we hope that you're here with us next week, same time, same station. I'm David Scranton here with Sarah Samuels, and you're listening to the Retirement Income Source, where, yes, it is all about your income.